Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we are talking about the one and only ICP coin. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, right? There's lots and lots to cover, especially when it comes from the technical analysis side, because we are actually at a very, very crucial area and time in the crypto space. The reason why I say this, ladies and gentlemen, is because the quarterly candle is about to close on everything, right? So, January, February, March. March is about to be over. So not only are we getting, the end of the weekly candle, the end of the monthly candle, but we're also getting the end of the quarterly candle as well. Okay. So overall, I do expect the next quarter to be actually pretty solid, right? Even if there is a minor dip or some kind of fake out, I overall expect things to consolidate and start recovering, right? So we're talking about April, May, June. That is what I truly do believe. And the reason why I believe this is before we even talk about ICP itself, we have to talk about the head of the snake, which is Bitcoin, right? So, Bitcoin right now, if we go on the 3 month chart, pretty much we can see that starting from October, November, December, we broke out to new highs, right? Ever since then, we kind of consolidated, started to go down. But ultimately, what I believe is that this candle is the main candle for the retest to go higher, right? Something very similar that we had all the way over here, right? Back in last April, right? Back in last April where we kind of were, retesting, but then we also needed a few more, months, right? We went into the summer before we actually blew up. Now, I don't think we're going to require another 7.5 months just the way we did last time, right? Because we see once we pumped here, let's just say at the end of February, beginning of March, it took all the way until pretty much the beginning of November to expand. So, it took a long time, 7.5 months more or less. So I don't expect things to take that long, but I don't expect things to also be that quick, right? Generally speaking, I do probably expect this monthly candle to get swept, right? And if it does, that means, we would be going below 77,000, right? There's a good probability for that. If not, then, there's a very decent chance we will be bouncing off, the 78, 79K zone, because we are technically in a range. So why am I telling you this? Well, like I said, because this is very relevant. The way Bitcoin moves is going to be the way most coins move most of the time, right? Now, the good thing is, ladies and gentlemen, that we can compare March overall has been way more sideways compared to something like February and, even January, right? Overall, we have been going more sideways. There is a decent chance, like I said, we go to lower levels, maybe, cover this imbalance, take this imbalance out before we continue going up. Now, if that's going to be the case, how is this going to translate to ICP? Well, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, in just 1 second, right? So if we do respect roughly the 80K zone, then $5 ICP is most likely going to be happening, and we most likely will be consolidating around the zone before we make attempts to push it up higher, right? We already see on the 4 hour chart, we have, multiple 4 hour rejections. So it could be early signs of a reversal. But of course, this is nothing huge, right? Nothing huge. It is also a Saturday. So you got to remember that a lot of momentum has been slowed down. When we go to something like ICP monthly chart, right, we can see that, we are pretty much filling up all the imbalance. We are actually at a very huge point in terms of support and resistance, generally speaking. Now, this is kind of a big range, but this range is pretty much the most relevant. So anywhere between, let's just say 440 and 535 is where I expect for us to really start bottoming out before we go higher. And the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this would also tap into the 3 month, order block candle, right, at 455, right? We might go back down to 412, maybe a little bit lower. But generally, this is where I believe this is going to be the prime time for ICP to start reversing. One thing I also did, mention that's also very similar to before is that last time around, right, we had something very similar where we kind of had, like one top, second top. We kind of had things going sideways and then new lows formed before a reversal. And the thing is, it is pretty much the exact same, just on a bigger scale, right? We have one top, the second top, right? We had pretty much this area where we broke below, right? The same way we broke below here. And now we kind of are expected to, end up somewhere here as the bottom and then a quick recovery, which makes sense because the thing is, right, if we do get some final fake pullbacks from Bitcoin, then ICP will be going lower. And, the reason why I'm also so high on ICP reversing soon is because we are getting closer and closer to our destination when it comes to Bitcoin dominance, right? I personally expect Bitcoin dominance to top out between 69 and 71%, right? Something like this over the next few short months where we go up. We probably have a little bit of a sell-off between the 60, at this top, just a little bit. Boom, people get happy again, and then things do what they have to do. We go up here, and then we get like a big kind of crash. Then we go sideways, and then we sell off heavy. Something very, very similar to this, right? Very, very similar. At this current point, I do believe we are roughly, you know, in this stage right here, right? Somewhere over here at this line, right? Where we're looking to be making, a double top and then push through it and then sell off, which is exactly the same thing, right? This double top, push through it, then sell off. So I believe altcoin season is sooner. It is closer than later, like much, much closer. And I do expect things to, turn around. And that is why I am personally going to be buying more ICP when we do hit these lower ranges, right? Even right now is a very, very solid time to be buying, right? When you look out and zoom out, the thing is, even if ICP only hits up to 32 bucks, you buying it roughly at $5, almost 6 times the amount of money you made, no one is complaining, right? No one is complaining. But if you want more precision, more, on point technical analysis, then like I said, this zone over here, that $4 area to, $5 area is exactly where I would be looking for the prime prices, right? We're not that far away from it either. So we'll obviously have to see and monitor how everything ends up, right? If we go to here, let's see, actually, is this perfect? Yeah, this is exactly into the 3 month order block, which is tapping the last relevant, pretty much weekly candles. And it's also technically beautiful support. So that is my personal bias. Where do I think ICP will end? Well, I think absolute worst case scenario, we would probably be making higher highs than what we've had here and probably by a decent margin. I think worst case scenario, like altcoin season was beyond terrible, would probably be 32 bucks. Like, I mean, and that's like, if everything really just was the biggest flop of all time. I still think we would create higher highs, probably tap into this weekly order block, right? Tap into this, then do something like this, and then just kind of go back to like that, right? However, on a more realistic, scenario, I do think we will be hitting, upwards of at least, in my opinion, 70 to 75 bucks, right? Up to this zone. That is something more realistic for me. For me, in terms of how high ICP can peak, I think we could definitely be going to 150 to, the $150 range, somewhere there, 120 to 180. I know that's a very, very big zone, but it really depends how much capital and everything we get, right? My more conservative side is really saying, conservative, realistic, and optimistic side is saying, 100, 120. If we do get, like double the money that we expect, then 180 is very possible, right? I don't make the market conditions. I'm not the one that, dictates how much liquidity there's in the market. But yeah, so at the minimum, on a realistic standpoint, we should be looking at 70 bucks. That is what I believe. And that is why I'm super also high on ICP, fundamentals aside, right? Just in terms of pure technical analysis, worst case scenario is roughly going to be a 6x. But, what I think is very, very probable will be roughly, 12 to 14x. And then if things are better than expected, or kind of, going the way we actually did expect, having that 68 trillion market cap, then we can very, very well be entering into the, 120 to 180, zone, right? So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.